Hi everyone, I'm here with this week's happiness strategy. This week the theme is all around resetting our mindset and thriving. It's about those times when we get stuck in a bit of a mindset rut, when we can be overtaken by overwhelm or negative thought patterns, and those times when we really just need some added tools and practices to draw on in order to get back to a place in our lives of thriving and where we feel like we're in a flow with our lives. So this week's featured article is called How to Reset Your Mindset and Thrive, and I've included a link to that article here in this video in the description below. And this week in our video, I wanted to just share the 5 practices that I use on a regular basis in order to shift my mindset from a place of feeling stuck and to that kind of survival mode of just getting by, to shift that feeling to a place of a more open-minded mindset and to a place of thriving. So I have 5 practices that I regularly use. And the first one I call creating the pause. So it's about really setting that foundation of slowing down, of creating the space to quiet our minds and to not have so much coming at us, so that we can really get clear on how we're feeling and where we're at. And so to just sort of shut off that added noise that's coming at us. So we can do this a number of different ways. We can, one way to really help kind of offset that added noise is to take regular breaks from our technology, turning off our devices and taking regular schedule times even throughout the day where we don't have external noise and that sort of sensory overload coming at us and sort of adding to, if we are feeling overwhelmed, to sort of add to that feeling of a busy mind or a feeling overwhelmed. So taking those regular spaces to sort of quiet that internal and external noise, kind of that less noise feeling results in having a less of a feeling of being overwhelmed, and it creates more presence in our lives. Because it's really hard to get clear on sort of what's contributing to our mindset rut or to our feeling of overwhelmed when we are constantly being inundated with sort of external noise. So this really is a practice, but getting into the habit of carving out space. So space where, whether that looks like traditional meditation or where it just looks like how you might start your day, just sort of taking some time for yourself to have a check-in really does go a long way in sort of taking a snapshot of where your mindset is at. And when you get into more of a regular habit of doing this and creating that enhanced self-awareness, then it becomes easier to kind of spot those places, those stories that we might be telling ourselves, or even to kind of gain that insight about maybe perhaps what we need to do next in order to kind of bust out of our rut. So creating the pause is really important, and it doesn't have to be hard to do that. It's something that is available to all of us. We all can do that, and it just really is all about taking some time and creating a regular practice of slowing down. The next practice that I use is to be accountable and be observant. And this is something that I'm in the process of, and that I'm striving to teach my kids, because I think it's such an important gift, and it's something that I think we all should learn in childhood, is that we really are, each of us, it's a very empowered way to view life when we put ourselves in charge of our own happiness. When we aren't looking to other people or to our external environment to be our source of happiness. Because while that can be temporary, we certainly can experience happiness as a result of the actions of other people or as the result of our environment. But that can shift and change. And when we make our happiness and our level of okayness or worth dependent on these external sources, it does become more likely that we're going to get really stuck in a mindset rut because we're not empowered to believe that we have the tools and the resources in order to shift out of that. So, being accountable for our happiness is huge, and making that choice every day. We all can fall into a place of feeling like victims of our lives, whether that's on a big scale or a small scale. I think that's normal. What I'm talking about here is really just striving to remind ourselves on a daily basis that how we choose to receive and react to life is really that accountability piece. It's where we can take charge of our own happiness. And moving into that role of an observer or becoming observant in life is again just when we believe that we're accountable and that we have a say in how we choose to receive life, and that we have a say in our level of happiness, that life's not happening to us, that we do have a say in that, then we can shift into an observer role, and we can use our feelings as our guide. And thankfully, our feelings show up physically in our bodies. So, it becomes a lot easier to use our feelings as a guide when we're kind of taking the mystery out of it. It's, if you feel good in your body and, where you're at feels good, then, continue down that path. But if you're feeling, overwhelmed or stuck in a rut, then, that doesn't feel good in your body, and you can use that as kind of your wake up to kind of tune inwards and kind of dig a bit deeper to see, where you might not be feeling good and what your next best steps might be in order to shift. So again, it's an empowered way of viewing your reset, your mindset reset. So you're not looking outside of yourself or external sources to tell you what you need to do in order to shift. You're tuning inward, and you're being observant of your feelings. You know that you're accountable for your happiness, and you're tuning inward in order to ask yourself, what is it that you need most in this moment? And then the next practice that I use often is to up the ante. So if we're feeling stuck in a rut, there can be a very sort of stagnant feeling and a dull feeling in our energy when we feel stuck. So it doesn't always feel motivating to want to shift out of our rut when we just feel kind of, stagnant and just a lower energy. So one way to kind of increase our energy and to increase our vibe is to up the ante, is to practice getting more comfortable with the idea of getting uncomfortable. So getting into a regular habit of seeing where we might have room in our day to push out of our comfort zones. Now, this doesn't always have to be, making huge, big leaps and bounds. It can be you'll know how that's going to be best for you. You can just make little steps. So it's about kind of creating that change. And if you're feeling stuck in a rut, it's about doing things differently than you're currently doing in order to have a different result. And so really getting used to trusting in yourself and knowing that that you are courageous and that you can move past your comfort zones. And when you get on the other side of that, there always is just an increased sense of excitement and energy. Even if your result isn't what you had hoped for, just the mere act of doing something differently and pushing past what you normally do, and being brave in doing that is often what can help you sort of shift out of that mindset and just create a new energy. So the fourth practice is to anticipate more. So it comes down to the idea that, what we sort of focus on, we create more of. So when you anticipate that overall life is good, chances are overall life is going to be good. When you anticipate that generally people are good, your experience is generally going to be that people are good, because you're going to be looking for that evidence. Your focus is going to be on looking for the good. And so, the same can be true for when we feel like life is hard and that it's awful and we can't catch a break and, why me? Putting our focus on that and kind of creating more energy around that creates more of those experiences in our life. So if you want to, apply that practice, anticipating more in your life in order to, kind of shift out of a mindset rut, you're going to be doing yourself a huge service and giving yourself a huge gift. And it does require a leap of faith and, a belief in the magic of life. And it's not to say that you are necessarily, you're creating your reality and everything before you, but when you anticipate more, your reactions and how you show up, you have different reactions and you show up differently. And so it's the act of doing that that's going to shape your perspective and your experience of life. So, it is part faith and it's part choice, and it, in your actions and how you choose to show up, in the anticipating more practice. That kind of helps that sort of reality unfold around you. So it's, taking that leap of faith and believing that what you focus on and that anticipating more is a really powerful practice to put in your life. Putting some faith into that and just having some fun with it and practicing it on a regular basis is going to help you create more of those experiences in your daily life. And the fifth practice is to do a daily deliberate reset. So the idea here is to not wait until you're stuck in a mindset rut to sort of practice doing the reset, to experiment and to use what works best for you to create a regular ritual at a time that works for you during the day on a regular daily basis of practicing what it's like to shift your mindset and to create a reset. So for me, I like to do a deliberate daily mindset reset in the morning. I like to do it in the morning because this is when my mind tends to be the quietest, and it works well for me, and it's something that is easy for me to do, so it's become a habit. So you want to create a ritual for you that is going to be easy to become a habit. So for me, I start the day by, before I even get out of bed, I just spend a few moments in gratitude for the gift of another day. And then I choose to put my attention on, how it is that I want to feel today, and I set an intention around that. And then I go about my day. That's not to say that everything always unfolds perfectly around me, or that I don't get in a rut or fall off my path. Of course, that is true. But why and how this is helpful is that I can go back to that intention throughout my day to create regular resets and to course correct, and to remember how it is that I want to feel and why that is important to me, and to then inject that intention into my reactions. And so even if I do kind of get stuck in a bit of a mindset rut, I don't get stuck there for too long, because I have a tool through my intention to kind of pull me out of that, to empower myself, again, coming back to that accountability piece, to choose differently. So again, these practices you can personalize, to make them meaningful to you. But I do recommend, trying these practices out, or creating your own list of practices and tools and resources that you can draw on. When we get to know ourselves really well, and we appoint ourselves accountable for our happiness, then it becomes easier to use ourselves as our own resource, and to kind of know what our triggers are, and know what is generally helpful for us in different circumstances as they come up. Whether that is, phoning up a friend or getting outside or, taking some time or mindful breathing, whatever that is. Like, just create your own toolbox of strategies that you can use to draw on in order to create the most meaningful and happy journey as possible. Because that's all we really have control over, is how we choose to receive life, whatever comes before us, and how we choose to continue on our adventure. And knowing that we do have some say in how we choose to feel is empowering, and I just invite you to try out these practices or to create your own toolbox of ways and practices that you can use in order to bust out of a mindset rut. The idea here is to not get stuck in stuck places for long. So empower yourself. I invite you this week to, look at this for yourself. And you're probably already practicing a lot of these ways and tools. So even just naming them and listing them out for yourself can give them an even more powerful punch for when you need them later on. You can kind of recall them because you've sort of stated your claim to them by putting your attention on them. So I invite you to try these practices out and to create your own list of tools and resources that you can draw on in order to shift out of your mindset and to thrive in your life and to have the most amazing journey while you get to be here. So I hope you have an amazing week, and I look forward to connecting again next week. Thank you.